For example, we've always been taught that having flat feet is a bad thing. But it's not.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's two things that I'm looking for with a healthy foot. Number one is it mobile?
スプリントにも実は足の指の力が加わってるっていうのはこれ選手時代に全然知らなかったことなんで知っとけよかったなっていうのを。ということで、今日はですね、足の話をするという回になります。So welcome to my YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
日本はなんと初めてというかアジアが初めていらっしゃる。This is the first time to visit in Japan.
It is, yes. My first time in Japan. And first time in Asia, yes. Yeah.
ということだそうです。で、ちょっと最初にですね、じゃあ、ジェニファー・ペレス博士のですね、背景をお話ししたいと思います。ゲートハプンズ、これ後で後ほどお話しますが、共同オーナー兼最高執行責任者 COO で、教育者でもあって臨床家でもあります。で、彼女の使命はできるだけ多くの人々が下半身の健康を自分で管理して、それから好きなことできるように戻れるように支援することだということです。で、学ばれたのはですね、カリフォルニア州のカリフォルニアポリテック州立大学サンルイス・オビスポ校でキネシオロジーですね、スポーツ医学の学士を取得され、テキサス州ダラスのパーカー大学でカイロプラクティックの博士号を取られました。今はですね、足と歩行のバイオメカニクスに関する講義を国際的に行ったり、大学や医療団体で教鞭を取る、またゲートハプンズのオンラインコースを通じてですね、世界中の医療従事者にトレーニングを提供する。過去にはですね、ジャマイカで臨床研修をされまして、オリンピック選手やプロの陸上選手と活動されていたということになります。今はコロラド州デンバーのですね、ランニングする方はデンバーよくご存知かもしれないですけど、デンバーでご自身のクリニックキネティックカイロプラクティックで旦那さんのマーク・ペレスさんと共に患者の診療を行っているということです。Okay.
You did so great with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. That's even hard in English.
Oh, yeah. はい。じゃあということでインタビューに早速入っていきたいと思います。ちょっと私の英語が拙いのもあって、英語で質問して彼女が英語で答えて、後ほど日本語の字幕おそらく入るはずなんですけど、それで進めていきたいと思います。So let's start.
All right, let's do it.
Right. So, could you tell us about your background and your expertise because of what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
In this area?
So Gait Happens in general, basically what we do is foot health education. And we kind of do it in two different arenas, two different areas. So we're out teaching other healthcare practitioners. So we train physical therapists, physiotherapists, podiatrists, which is a foot doctor, chiropodists. There's so many professions that either directly or indirectly work with the foot.
Okay.
So we're trying to help give them better assessment and treatment techniques so that people can help strengthen their feet. So that's the one side. And then the other side is teaching directly to the patients and the customers so that people can take charge of their own foot health. Because for so many years, at least in the United States, the conversation has been, you need stiffer shoes, you need arch support, you need all of these passive things. And no one has really had that conversation of the foot is made of muscles just like the rest of our body. And so we really wanted to change the conversation from passive treatment to how can we strengthen the foot? How can we move the foot and make it stronger to support our whole body?
Okay. 素晴らしい活動。But how can you teach for another expert? You talked about another doctor or another people who related with their foot health.
So how do we teach the expert or the not expert?
Expert.
The expert.
Yeah.
So we actually have online and in-person courses. So we have everything from a 4-hour course talking about foot anatomy and a few simple things to look for to a full certification course. We have a whole 16-hour certification course where we learn to look at walking gait. So walking gait is the pattern of how we walk, and we really dissect it from the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip, the pelvis, the spine, and we look at how everything is moving together and then how those movement patterns can contribute to things like chronic pain. So we really start connecting the dots instead of just looking, for example, at if someone comes with plantar fasciitis, right? Plantar fasciitis is one of the most common causes of heel pain, and too often we're only looking where the pain is. So many doctors, you come in and your pain is right here, they want to put an injection right where the pain is. But when you look at the whole body and how we move, the plantar fascia is only one of the tissues supporting the foot. So I want to know why is the plantar fascia being overloaded and why aren't the muscles doing their part? So that's where when we teach other health pros, we're looking at, okay, what's the missing piece of the puzzle, and then how do we give that to the patient? And then we teach them simple exercises that they can do to then strengthen their foot.
これは相当ランナーの方みんな悩まれてる方多いんじゃないかと思うんですけど、私も選手の時 So when I was an athlete, I had so much pain here, but really hard to find exact the reason cause.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, a lot of this is new research too, right? Even in just the last 5 years, there's more research coming out, especially around tendinopathies and just different diagnoses that before everyone, the best knowledge that we had was you should rest, you should ice, use support. But now that we're starting to learn more and more, we're learning that tissues need load in order to be healthy. They need to be strong. And now that the research is coming out to support that, I think there's more health professionals that are looking for that information.
So, second question. So what kind of services Gait Happens, which is currently being conducted in the US?
So we're all about education. Right? Clearly, this is, I like teaching. So we have a lot of different courses. So for the health professionals, we have the courses. We also have courses for the individual as well. So for example, we have a small 1-hour course on bunions. So for people with bunions, they can learn what a bunion is. For anyone listening who doesn't know what a bunion is, that's when the big toe goes this way, and it can be really painful. So we have a 1-hour course on what is it, why does it happen, and what kind of footwear should I use, and what exercises can I do to help with that. We also offer virtual consultations. So we actually have 7 different practitioners, healthcare practitioners that are on our team. So it started with just myself and my business partner, Dr. Courtney Conley, and now we have 7 women that all see patients all over the world. So we do virtual consultations where we look at video and pictures, and then we join a video call with the client, and we watch them move, and we ask them to do certain things, and then we create a custom exercise plan for them, all online. So even though we're based in the US, we actually have 1 practitioner in London now too, and then but we see clients from all over the world. Is
there a Japanese version? Only
Not yet.
But if Japanese people can speak English, then we can.
Everyone's been so wonderful at speaking English. Not yet, but I would love to have some Japanese translation soon.
Okay, thank you. 次の質問で、もうちょっとジェネラルな質問ですね。So, in general, what defines a healthy foot?
Healthy foot. Great question. So there's 2 things that I'm looking for with a healthy foot. Number 1 is it mobile? So, and this is actually something that's surprising to a lot of people because we think of flat feet, for example. We've always been taught that having flat feet is a bad thing. But it's not.
Oh, really?
So what we're finding is actually it's just a different type of foot. So some people have a higher arch type. Some people have a lower arch type. And neither is bad as long as they can move and as long as they're strong.
Okay.
Right? So the first thing that we look for is it mobile? So oftentimes the people that have a higher arch type, they have more what we would call rigidity. So they have a harder time unlocking the foot. But it's really important to be able to unlock the foot because that's shock absorption. So when the foot hits the ground, right, the ground hits back. And we have to be able to absorb that force because if we don't, then it goes to the knees, it goes to the hip, it goes to the back. So the foot being able to spread and unlock is really important in shock absorption. Then the second piece is strength. So as the foot hits the ground, it has to be mobile, it has to be able to spread and move. And then when we go to push off, that's where we want it to be stiff. We want to actually have a nice platform to push off of. You know, think about the starting block when you're on the track. You don't want a starting block that moves. You want the starting block to be solid so that you can push off of it. So that's where the strength of the foot actually plays the biggest role in push off. So it's really actually quite fascinating. Again, with new research, they used to think that the plantar fascia was one of the biggest components in pushing off. So they thought it was passive. But now research is actually showing that it's the strength of this muscle right here. It's called your flexor digitorum brevis, or FDB for short.
That's more super long.
FDB. Okay, so FDB is actually the most important muscle because when it tenses up, that's what we push off of. This is our trampoline when we push off of. So for a strong foot, I want a foot that can spread, I want a foot that can move, and I want a foot that's strong.
柔軟性とだから強さで想像以上にだから能動的に動いてるっていうことなんですね。動かせるっていう。So do you have any kind of test for the power of its strength?
I do. Are we going to test it today?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this one.
Again. 実は私1回やったんですけどもちょっと褒められてもう1回やりたいなということで。Okay. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, let's bring it forward so your whole foot's on there.
All right.
Okay. All right. So this one, is this good? It's good? Okay. So this is called a dynamometer, which again is a hard word even in English. Okay. So a dynamometer is what measures strength of fingers or toes. So this is a toe dynamometer. And what we're going to do is we're going to place this right under your big toe.
Okay.
Okay.
Big toe, ne?
Big toe.
Okay.
And then you're going to keep your heel down.
Yes.
All right. And then no elbows on your hands. Okay. And I just want you to press that down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this way. And it's going to give me a number of how strong that big toe is.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And normally, ideally, we would want to do this with your foot flat on the ground, just because it's a little bit steadier. But so that we could see it on camera, we'll do it up here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You ready? So keep your heel down.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, push. Push. Good. And we're going to do it 3 times.
Okay.
And we'll take your best score.
All right.
Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, push. And one more.
これ結構難しいな、
Ready?
これ。Yes, ready.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, push. Good. So we got 5.8
5.8
kilograms.
Oh.
So what we're looking for the big toe is 10% of body weight. So what would 10% of body weight be for you?
64 kilograms.
So
Yeah.
we would like to see 6.4,
okay.
right? But keep in mind you were on an unstable chair.
Okay.
So we'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
これね、椅子がちょっとグラグラしてますから。Thank you.
So, yeah. So we can actually do this test both for the big toe and for the outer toes. And so big toe, we look for 10% of body weight. For the outer toes, we look for 7% of body weight. And that just gives us a good baseline of how strong those muscles are underneath the foot.
Can we train for the big toe?
Of course. Of course. It's made of muscles. Of course we can train the big toe. Do you want me to demonstrate that too?
Yeah,
absolutely.
じゃあついでに練習の方法も聞いちゃいましょうかね。どうやって。
This one. Okay.
Is that made by Gait Happen?
It is.
Oh, already?
Yes.
こういうので練習のやつやってるんですね。Okay.
We kept recommending the same exercises, right? Say, like I said, mobility and strength, mobility and strength. And so we found that we just wanted to have everything in one place for what we were recommending. So we ended up coming out with our own foot health kit, which has a resistance band and toe spacers and a massage ball. So it's like everything that you need for a healthy foot in one place, which is very easy. So let's do a big toe exercise. Do you want to do it or you want me to do it?
I want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to put this under your whole foot. Good.
足全体で。
And then you're going to pull up on the band.
あ、なるほど。
Yep. And keep the heel down.
Yes.
And then all I want you to do is just push that big toe all the way down. Good. And then back up. And all the way down. How does that feel?
Good. Good.
Good.
Oh, a little bit hurt.
Where do you feel this?
Yeah, I can feel that I'm going.
Under the arch?
Yeah, I'm using this muscle.
Good. You may even feel this up into the calf as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So we can do that for the big toe, and then we can also do the same thing for the outer toes as well. Now, the one thing that I'll say about the outer toes, because oftentimes when people do this for the first time, they have a tendency to curl.
確かに。
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So curling the toes is a different muscle than pressing the toes.
Okay.
So I want to press the toes long and flat.
このギュッとやるのとこの4つ開いたままやるのは全然違うんだっていうことですね。Okay.
Okay, so long and then press all the way down. Good. See how they want to curl? No curling. So give it a little bit less pull. Make it a little easier. And then better.
なるほど。Okay.
Good.
指を巻かないように。
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but I never thought about,
the toe strength.
Yeah.
So this muscle that you're strengthening right now, that's FDB. So that's
This is FDB.
That's this muscle right here, and that's the plantar fascia's best friend. So anyone who does have plantar fasciitis or heel pain that starts from underneath here, strengthening this muscle is really helpful because it can take some of the load off the plantar fascia and back into that muscle.
これ測定筋膜炎のことだよね、多分ね。ちょっと確実に分かってないけど、多分それがこの筋肉がすごいサポートしてるっていうことだろうなと思いますけど。
How does it feel?
Good.
So that's just one of 100 different exercises that you can do for your feet, but it's a really good starting place.
Okay. But I never thought about, just
strengthening your feet.
Yeah, I thought only two ways. My toes goes this way or this way.
Yep.
I never thought about, spreading
or pressing flat.
Yeah, pressing flat.
Yeah. One of the most common exercises that we do see people use for their feet is picking things up. So like picking up a towel or curling a towel. The problem that I have with that exercise is, first of all, if that's going to be the one exercise that gets you to do something, great, do it. I would rather you do something than nothing. But I think in thinking about how the foot functions in our everyday life, especially with walking and running, that muscle, flexor digitorum brevis, is most active when our heel comes off the ground, right? So I want to think about how can I fire up those muscles in a way that mimics how I'm actually using them. So first, when we walk, we don't want our toes to curl. We want our toes to lay flat to push off. And then second is, so that's where the band press comes in, learning to press the toes flat. But then normally I will progress someone from that to, let's say, an exercise where they push their toes down into a towel. So not curling the towel, just pressing into a towel and then lifting up the heel. And now I'm actually firing the muscle in the same position that we use it when we're walking and running.
ああ、全然知らなかったな。そう、なるほどね。じゃあ、So how? Oh, this question is good. How do individual difference in foot shape and structure affect walking and athlete ability? Maybe you mentioned before, but more.
Yeah, I mean, I think. So in general, there's different foot types out there. We all there's some people that are tall and there's some people that are short. Just like there's different hair color, there's different foot types.
Okay.
And so one of the things when you look at a higher arch type, and this didn't come from a research study. This is just kind of from my clinical experience.
Yes.
But with a higher arch type, oftentimes they are really good at fascial recoil. So when you think about walking and running, okay,
yeah,
especially when we're doing long distances, the key is energy conservation, right? You want to have as little energy output as possible so that we can stay fast for a longer period of time. So the key there is having good fascial recoil is like a really strong rubber band, right? So every step you're using less energy because you have good fascial recoil. Typically someone with a higher arch type is usually very good at fascial recoil, but they're not as good at adapting to different surfaces or being explosive sometimes. So someone with a lower arch type, so someone typically who has like a flatter foot, usually is much stronger because they're so flexible. The muscle has to be really strong, and so they tend to be really explosive and strong. So again, this is not based on research. It's just kind of what I've observed in my patients. But it's really interesting when you see a flatter foot type, we want to make sure that they're really strong. When you see a higher arch type, you want to make sure that they're good at being mobile and adapting. And as long as they can do both, everybody can be healthy.
いや、今のすごい面白い話で、要するにハイアーチタイプの人は maybe this is kind of like a spring or something.
Exactly.
ここでなんかバネのようになるので。特にランニングエコノミーが重要なロングディスタンスはいいけど、フラットの方が安定してパワーが出るっていうので、So you know that many judo player has a more flat arch, I think. だから柔道家とかは多分フラットアーチの方が有効なんじゃないかっていう今のお話でしたね。
A lot of sprinters too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I mean across the board, I think a lot of people who spend more time barefoot end up with a flatter foot type. And part of that is the shock absorption, right? When we spend more time barefoot, our foot has to help us with shock absorption because there's no shoe there to help us. But when we spend a lot of time in footwear, we don't necessarily have to be as good at shock absorption. And so, or at least we don't feel the ground as much. You know, when I'm walking barefoot, if I hit hard, I feel it. But if I'm walking barefoot or walking in a shoe that has a lot of cushion, if I hit hard, I don't feel it as much. So there's kind of some interesting research out there on ground reaction forces and kind of what's happening with a cushion shoe. But in general, when you spend more time barefoot, like you're saying, like when a martial arts athlete, whether it's jiu-jitsu or judo, you know, a lot of them have a more flexible foot type because they're on the ground more. Yeah.
Wow. So next question. I want to ask you about insole.
Okay.
So do you think insole is what insole is good for the patient or athlete? Or my question is, insole is good for the running or walking, or if good, so what kind of insole is good for?
It's a great question. So I think we start with, are insoles good or bad?
Yeah.
Right? And
because you know sometimes people talk about the barefoot is good, because that's more natural or something.
So I am really good at meeting in the middle.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's kind of Japanese.
So in general, let's say like someone who has never had a foot injury, never had, someone who's had very healthy feet their whole life. I do not think they need insoles. And the reason is because our feet are very strong. We have 3 arches, which help with shock absorption. We have 33 joints so that our feet can adapt and be mobile. And then we have 4 layers of muscles built into our feet. Our feet have everything that they need, right? When things are going right, everything is good, no insoles, right? The insole is there when we need it. And then the flip side of that is insoles are good at offloading. So when we go back to how we talked about looking at why is a certain tissue being overloaded. So for example, just to use a different example, another common diagnosis is posterior tibial tendinopathy. So what that is pain that goes down the inside ankle because it's a tendinitis right here, right? So many times, not always, but many times that happens because that person starts to collapse this way. And what happens is that puts too much load on that tendon, right? So the tendon can handle this much, but we're putting this much load on it. That's where we start to see injury. In cases like that, putting an insole under here can help offload that tendon, which can help with the pain, okay? But, so helping with the pain is a good thing because it means maybe they can keep walking, or maybe they can keep working, or maybe they can do the race that they have coming up, because it all depends on how much that pain is affecting that person. If they're in so much pain that they can't race, or they're in so much pain that they can't go to work, that's a problem. So we need something to help them. But we also know that tendons need load in order to heal. So if all we do is offload it and never strengthen it, then we need this for the rest of our life. But instead, what if we use this to help with the pain and strengthen, and then eventually take this away, and now we have a healthy foot again? That's where I meet in the middle and say use an insole when we need it, but it should be a tool and not a life sentence. Yeah.
素晴らしい。要するにインソールが、後で、ね、日本語になるのあれかもしれないです。インソールはだからあくまで道具であってサポートをするものだけど、これがないと生きていけないようになると、良くないよねっていうので、もしそれが必要ない人であればいらないけれども、でもサポートすることで、特にあれなんて言うんですかね、足底筋膜炎に近いやつかな、この内側が痛くなるやつはそのサポートによって痛みが取れるっていうことをおっしゃっています。Yeah, so many Japanese runner has some problem in this part. Especially, how can I say, X-leg type? It goes, knee in,
like valgus.
Yeah.
Yep.
じゃあ次はですね、choosing the right shoes. Yeah, what should people consider when selecting shoes for foot health?
Yeah, that's a great question. So depending on how much we want to talk about it, I can give the basics, but we actually have a whole course just on shoes, because there's a lot to think about with a shoe. You can think about the shape, you can think about how much cushion, how much support, how flexible versus rigid it is. The shape of the bottom of the sole. Some shoes are flat and some shoes have a rocker. So there's lots of things to think about. But 2 basic things that I look for in a what I call a natural shoe. So a shoe that's going to let your foot function the way it was designed is, number 1, the shape of the toe box. So having a shoe that's a size wide is different than a shoe that has a wide toe box. Because most shoes, traditional shoes, are shaped this way. The toe is pointed inwards, right? So if I buy a regular shoe in a size wide, it's going to make it wider here, but the toe is still going to be pointed, right? My problem with that is, remember what we talked about with shock absorption? How well do I do this in a shoe that does this? Not very well.
Yeah.
Right? So in order to be able to spread the toes, to keep the toes in alignment with the bones behind them and not doing this, I need a shoe that has a nice wide toe box. In order to look for that, there's two ways you can look at it. Number one, if you draw a straight line from the inside of the heel up to the big toe, it should be a straight line. If you see that line bend this way, then you know inside the shoe, your toe is doing this. And then every single time that we push off, we're pushing off on a crooked hinge. And that's not good, right? That also, going back to what we were saying about the post-tib, if I bring this toe over, can you see how that actually opens up all of the joints on the inside of the foot? So it actually makes the arch less stable just by moving the big toe over. Okay? So that's number one, wide toe box.
That's number one.
Okay? Number two is I want the heel and the toes to be in the same plane. So I don't want the heel to be higher than the toes because it's going to put more pressure in the forefoot, which many pathologies happen in the forefoot. Bunions, metatarsalgia, Morton's neuromas, hammer toes, so many painful things happen in the forefoot. So we want to keep this nice and even. The other thing that does, which is great both for everyone and for performance, is it keeps the rest of our body stacked. When I go up onto my toes, what happens is my pelvis starts to tilt forward. So now if you think about your core, right? So stay flat, right? Take a big deep breath. And you can feel good expansion. Now go on your toes and tilt your pelvis forward, and now take a big deep breath. Can you feel how you only breathe here? You don't breathe here, right? So having a shoe that's more balanced sets up the whole posture of your body for better expansion, which is a good thing.
なるほど。まるでこのシューズのthe flat and also
the wide toe box.
wide finger too. But you know now there is so many how can I say thick bounce shoes. なんていうの？厚底ってなんていうの？
Max cushion.
Max cushion. So but actually this is you know help to raise the performance. But how can we take the balance? Performance shoes and also.
How can we meet in the middle?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I like to think of shoes like I think of golf clubs, right? You don't putt with your driver. You have a different golf club for different things, right? Do you golf at all?
Not really, but this is really easy to understand.
Right? So you have different tools, like you don't, even going to tools, right? You don't use a hammer when you need a screwdriver, right? So think about your shoes as different tools for your feet. So for everyday training, especially for everyday walking, you want to use as little shoe as possible. And what I mean by that is less cushion, less support, let your feet do the work. Because the body is very, very simple. You use it or you lose it. This is a very, very simple rule. You use it or you lose it. So every day you want to use the muscles, you want to be flexible, you want a shoe that makes your foot work a little harder. But then when it comes to performance, when you're in a race and when you're ready to use that advantage, then let the shoe help you, right? So there's a difference between your training shoe and your performance shoe, and that's okay. I also think with a lot of the high-end performance shoes that are out there, so let's talk carbon plate, right? It's like putting there's a really great quote from a colleague of ours that you can't put a jet engine on a paper airplane. So you can't put a jet engine shoe, right, on a foot that can't control it. The foot has to be strong inside the shoe. Otherwise, you're going to go faster than your body can handle, and we also see injury there as well.
なるほど。まさにそうですね。だからパフォーマンスを狙うって時と普段のトレーニングがそうだっていうのと、結局道具なんで道具に使われちゃダメよと、それ使いこなせるだけのパワーがないといけないねっていうことをおっしゃってます。 So may I ask one question?
Of course. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I'm. So now this YouTube, we were going to researching about thick shoes, like 厚底シューズってなんていうのかな? Carbon shoes or something like that.
Yeah.
So many athletes mentioned about now we tend to have an injury here.
In the hips.
Yeah, hips and also the, how can I say, or bone connection part here.
In the hip joint.
Yes, hip joint. But before they had more thick shoes, then they don't have this injury here. So do you?
So
it's
a good question. I don't have any research that directly connects the two. There may be research out there that I'm not aware of, but I don't have any research that directly connects the two. But what I will say is a shoe, so if you think about this, so this is a very minimal shoe when it comes to a running shoe. There's not a lot to it. You're doing a lot of the work yourself, right? A shoe like this requires a lot more strength and control from your soleus muscle. So your soleus muscle is one of your calf muscles, okay? When you're in a shoe that propels you forward and does most of the work for you, your soleus is no longer having to work as hard, but it's more now that your body is trying to catch up with the speed, right? It's less that you're trying to produce speed and more that you're trying to catch up with the speed. So my guess would be that the hips are trying to stabilize because they're on such an unstable surface that's pushing them forward. So, because our hips are our greatest stabilizer. So my biggest thing would be training in a shoe that makes their feet more stable, but also working on hip strength as well. Yeah.
なるほど。まあ同じ感じかもしれないですね。調査した時とね。じゃあいろいろなことを伺ってきましたけど、じゃあもう一つですね、私が伺いたいのは、latest research and trends. So, are there any recent studies on the foot health that you find particularly interesting? Especially, maybe we are discussing about women's runners program or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some really cool, interesting research. So, a couple of different things. So, we already talked about the new research coming out showing how important foot strength is for propelling forward. So we know that the foot has to be strong to push us forward. There's also been research showing that foot strength and foot strengthening protocols can improve your vertical jump, can improve your 50-yard dash time. So there's more research showing the importance of the foot strength, which is really exciting. Taking that one step further is there's also research that shows that you can strengthen the foot with exercises or you can strengthen the foot by walking in a minimalist shoe. And this was new research that just came out in the last 5 years that shows, so a minimalist shoe has the same things that we just talked about. It has that nice wide toe box. It has a flat heel to toe drop. But it has even less cushion. So we're talking like 5 to 15 millimeters. So very, very thin shoe. So what that does is it makes your foot push off. So there's actually research now that shows that walking in minimalist shoes strengthens your feet. So that's also really exciting because it just seems like the whole world is catching up to the fact that our feet need to be strong and that the less shoe that we wear, the stronger our feet are going to be. Then you actually can connect that to even more research. So there's also research showing that minimalist shoes get better activation of the muscles of the pelvic floor. And this is really, I think, the most exciting thing because so pelvic floor
intuitively, hard to understand why
right?
Connect to the.
So there's a couple of different ways. So for anyone who doesn't know, the pelvic floor are, if you think about a trampoline, it's the trampoline of muscles that exist underneath our torso.
Yeah.
And it's really what works together with our diaphragm to create our core stability. And it's also, it's been very taboo to talk about for a very long time.
Yeah.
But it's so important. And it's so important not only for the function of our core,
Yes.
but also when you think about female runners. Because so many female runners, especially female runners that are postpartum, that have had children, stop running. Because when they start to run, they don't have good pelvic floor control, and they might have prolapse, or they might have urinary leakage. And so when they run, they're embarrassed. So they stop running. But if you can have a conversation where you can actually strengthen these muscles, you can get better activation through your feet of wearing a more minimalist shoe of your pelvic floor, if that can even help one woman go back to running, I think that's absolutely amazing. So when you talk about research that gets me excited, that's definitely getting me excited.
Wow. 今のはですね、なので、もう2つおっしゃって、1つはもうナチュラルシューズというかフラットのシューズを履くと筋肉が鍛えられるということと、もう1つは骨盤底筋かな、そのところと足の裏を鍛えられることがつながっていて、結構そこが弱ると特に妊娠後の女性の方はランニング中にですね、いろんな問題が起きるっていうのをそこから鍛えるっていうのができるかもしれないっていうことだっていう話ですね。But amazing. Yeah. なるほど。はい。じゃああともう少しご質問したいと思うんですけども、What are some emerging technologies or trend in foot care and treatments?
Emerging technologies. It's a good question. So I think we're in the age of data, right? And more technology is coming out, which makes data accumulation easier. I think with the addition of AI, that's just going to continue to skyrocket as we continue to learn about the kinetics and the kinematics of the foot and its impact on the whole chain. I was actually testing a brand new AI gait analysis technology, and you can see the difference in someone's mechanics when they're wearing shoes versus when they're not wearing shoes. So I think it's all very new right now, but I think there's going to be some exciting things that we learn about how we move and how our foot health and our shoes impact the whole body. When it comes to treatment, I actually am in favor of going backwards. I think there has been too much technology and too much interference. And now we're relying on high-tech shoes and high-tech insoles. And I think we need to get back to the basics and just let our feet be strong on their own as much as possible.
これ私と I have a same idea.
Yeah.
やっぱり足に関しては結構テクノロジーが進んでいって、そのことによって結構難しくなってるんじゃないかと。なので少し戻って、ベアフットシューズとかもうちょっとナチュラルなもので鍛えていく方がトリートメントにはいいんじゃないかっていうことですね。Yeah. So what do you think about training in beach? Because I had many experience about dash on the beach.
I love beach training. I love it. My one caveat. So I love training on the beach because you're usually barefoot. Don't wear your shoes unless you have to on the beach. So you're usually barefoot. And then because the surface moves, it forces the muscles to contract and adapt. So it's really wonderful for joint proprioception, which is how our nerves tell our brain where our feet are in space. It's also great for muscle strength. My one caveat is start to add it in gradually, right? Okay. Don't go from really cushy shoes and orthotics and never going barefoot to running on the beach barefoot. That's a big jump, you know, just like when you go to the gym for the first time in a long time, you don't walk in and squat, you know, 200 kilograms, right? Like let's build up a little bit, start to go a little less shoes, start to go barefoot a little bit more, and then do things like running on the beach. But no, I think in general that it's a wonderful workout. It explains why you're so fast.
徐々にやってくださいということでした。じゃあ、終盤の質問、最後の方の質問に入りたいと思います。So what are some practical tips, kind of training or something treatment that people can implement immediately to maintain healthy feet?
Healthy feet?
Yeah, especially for maybe runner. So young age and also like my age, like around 40 or something like that.
It's a great question. So, being in Japan, you are already at an advantage because you don't wear shoes inside. So many cultures, including the U.S., a lot of people wear shoes inside, so they never go barefoot. So the fact that you're already going barefoot inside is already a good step in the right direction. I think when you go outside, either going barefoot or wearing a very minimal sandal or a minimal shoe, building up time in a minimalist shoe is a great way to build strength and mobility.
Even in asphalt, like
even on asphalt, you can, like I said, just use the right tool for the job. So I've been walking around Tokyo in minimalist shoes for a week now, but then I did 2 days at Disneyland, and I went from 12,000 steps to 20,000 steps.
Okay.
My feet were a little tired, so I pulled out my Ultras, and I had a little bit more cushion that day, and that's okay. So just respond to what you're doing that day, respond to what your body needs.
Okay.
So I think that's one very simple thing that you can do. As far as maintaining strength and mobility, just especially for runners, remember that your feet are made up of muscles. So don't be afraid to, before or after a race, roll a ball underneath your foot. That's why we included this in the foot health kit, is because rolling a ball underneath the foot can be just a really great way to calm down the muscles, to talk to the fascia, to talk to the neuroreceptors under the foot, to help relax. And then lastly is making sure that your feet are both engaging strong, like flat, not curling, strong, but also being able to spread your toes. Because being able to spread your toes is how we get the reflexive contraction of the muscles underneath the foot. So really making sure that you're wearing a shoe with a wide toe box, and then even just practicing this. If you have a hard time, like if you're listening right now, try lifting up your toes, spread them out as wide as you can, and then lower them down.
Okay.
If your toes did not listen, like if you tell your toes to do that and it doesn't listen to you, we need to practice this. And a great thing that you can start with is either something like this. So I'm wearing toe spacers right now, which are more of a passive way to help with the spread of your toes. Or if you're at home, you can actually just put your fingers in between your toes. And my toes are cold right now. So you can put your fingers in between your toes and then just stretch and move. And you can start to get some of that space back. And this is really hard for a lot of people. When they try to get their fingers in there, they don't even fit because the tissues are so tight.
Is there any training for spreading toe?
Yes. So that's the last part of the kit. So we actually developed, because of how important it's called toe splay. So when you spread your toes, it's called toe splay. And because of how important that motion is, we actually developed these strengtheners. So these are our patented strengtheners that we made to help strengthen the splaying of the toes. So they go around the toes, and now you have a resistance band that you can actually train that spreading motion of the toes. Do you want to try them?
Yeah, I want to try.
I don't know. I think so. There's an easy, a medium, and a hard. Do you? I think we should go medium or hard for you.
Medium.
Medium. Okay.
Okay.
So this is going to go right around each toe. So it just takes a minute to put on.
Okay. 指に全部かぶせる感じですね、こうやってね。
Okay. And then you want it towards the tip of the toes.
Yes.
Okay. So now go ahead and let's bring this closer. Okay. Now lift up your toes. Spread them out wide. Yeah. And then down.
Then down.
Yes. Look at how beautiful that looks.
Beautiful.
So you can see the muscles engaging
yes.
here.
なるほどね。Okay.
And then just do it again. So go up, out,
up,
and down.
Down.
Yeah.
Why should we raise up first?
I mean, you can do just straight out, but most people have look at you. Most people have a hard time connecting with their toes in that position. So raising up the toes makes it a little easier.
Then spread out.
Yep. You can also, since you're so good at this, I'm going to give you a challenge. Okay. So now try to keep these toes down and just lift up your big toe.
Oh, wow.
Come on, you can do it. It's hard.
This is so difficult.
So difficult. So there's a few different exercises that you can do with these bands that are all designed to help strengthen the foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
すごいね。親指だけが上げられるようになる人もいるということですね。
Yeah. You can even if you put a pencil right here, then you can lift up all the toes, and then try to tap.
That's more. It's
a little bit
more
easier. Yeah.
This is so. Oh.
Good job.
Wow. Thank you.
But that spread looked really, really good.
Yeah. And more easy to tell how to move my toe.
How did it feel?
Good. Yeah. Now I feel. これは買えるのかな日本で Can we buy this box in Japan? Or
you can.
Oh, really?
Yes. So the Foot Health Kit is now available at the Stride Lab stores all across Japan.
Okay.
And then online at their website as well.
Okay. Yeah. Gait. Can we Google about
the kit?
Gait Happens?
Yeah, Gait Happens. So Gait Happens is our company. Like I said, we're all about education. So GAIT Happens, HAPPENS.com. And we have blogs, we have videos, we have courses, so much information to learn. Even our YouTube, we do have a YouTube channel, lots of videos, and our Instagram as well. We have thousands of videos on our Instagram, all about foot health.
全部じゃあ靴の健康についてのことを書いてるみたいな。あとこれでちょっと検索してもらったら日本でも買えるそうなのでぜひ検索してみてください。じゃあ This is a final question. So what initiative or effort would you like to pursue to promote foot health in the future?
That's a hard question. Say it again.
It means about what do you want to do in the future or
with the foot health.
Yeah.
I mean, our mission is truly to change the world.
Yes.
And change the way the world views foot health. So really, it's just continuing to educate everyone that and empower everyone that you can strengthen your feet, that you can mobilize your feet, that you can do so much more than be stuck in rigid shoes and orthotics for the rest of your life. So that's really the biggest initiative is just getting this information to as many people as possible.
Okay. はい。ということで、非常にいろんなインタビューをしていただきます。すみません、私の英語が伝わらなかったです。でも言ってることはもう多分皆さんよく伝わったんじゃないかと思いますが、足の健康がいかに大事で、ちょっと私も知らなかったことはスプリントにも実は足の指の力が加わってるっていうのはこれ選手時代に全然知らなかったことなんで知っとけばよかったなっていうのを非常に思いましたけれども今日はとっても勉強になりました。I didn't know about the foot strength related with sprint performance.
It's exciting new research.
You should tell me when I was asleep.
Too late.
Too late. まあだけどこれ
But we can help those that are watching.
Next athlete.
Exactly.
皆さんにはぜひこれでトレーニングしてほしいということでした。ということでジェニファーさんに今日来ていただきました。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.